What's going on YouTube? You already know we're here at MGM. We're about to play a little 1-3. So we're gonna be buying in for the max, try to run it up. Things go good. I always say we're gonna move up to 2-5. So I finally got everything in order. My schedule's been really crazy. That's why I haven't been able to make videos. But now I'm gonna start posting 2 videos every week. So y'all stay tuned, subscribe, like the video, and just know we're going up. Let's get it. So in this first hand, I raise it up to 15 from the low jack with king 9 of clubs, and I only get called in one spot, and that is by the hijack behind me. And so the flop comes out 9-5-4 with 2 spades. So when the flop comes out and I have top pair good kicker, I decided to lead out with a bet of 15, trying to get value from worst top pairs, straight draws, or flush draws, and he quickly calls. So I'm not quite sure what he has. His pacing doesn't dictate anything. But the turn comes with 4 of diamonds, so that does bring 6-7 in. But I still bet my hand. I bet 25. His quick call means he didn't hit his hand. It's more indicative of a spade draw. So when the 4 spade comes, I'm just shutting it down. I check. He checks, actually, and king 9 is good. All right, so on to the next hand. Here's one that I play like shit. So I have pocket jacks in middle position. So I decided to raise to 15. The late position player calls and the early position limper calls as well. So the flop comes 4, 3, 6 with 2 hearts. So it's really not the best board for my hands in particular or my range. But nonetheless, I do decide to bet 20 and I get called in both spots. So I'm not really loving it because this is like smashing their range, their limp calling or just flat calling. So now I get a beautiful 5 of clubs on the turn. It was just what I asked for with pocket jacks. So here's where I make a very bad play. So when it checks to me, I decide to bet 40. And this is horrible because they could have all of the 2 pairs, all of the straights, all of the sets, all of the everything that beats pocket jacks. But anyway, so when they both call, we get an even better card now. It's the 2 of diamonds. But this actually improves my hand to a straight now. So it checks to me. Of course, I do nothing but check. And then the late position player decides to rip it all in. So the early position player decides to call. And I'm like, well, it's 135 to chop a pot of about 450. So, of course, I do what I'm supposed to do. And I go ahead and make the call. But I do hear the most perfect thing that I was looking to hear when I make this call. I'm playing the board. You playing
Board,
the
yeah,
board
board,
too.
board. Chop.
Chop
Take
it
it
up.
all back.
Chop.
Yeah, take it back, take it back, take it back.
All right, so after playing that hand so bad, hopefully I can redeem myself with pocket kings. I'm in the hijack and I raise to 15. I get called by the cutoff behind me, and we're off to the flop, which comes 9-6-3 with 2 hearts. So in low stakes, I like to bet really big on flops like these because if somebody has top pair or a flush draw, they're gonna call. So I decided to bet close to pot for 30, and he really doesn't take too much time and he calls. So to me, a quick call is morely indicative of a flush draw more than top pair because he would be thinking about if he should raise or not. So when we're off to the turn, it doesn't come the best card ever. It's another 9, the 9 of spade. So if he did just decide to call with top pair, he now has trips. So for me, I'm going to play pot control and I'm going to check. And to my surprise, it actually goes check. So at this point, I'm convinced that I have the best hand. So when the river comes to 8 of clubs, I'm not sure if I should do a large bet and go polar or if I should make a blocker bet. The advantages of a blocker bet is if I get raised, I know I don't have the best hand. So I decided to go with that option. And when I bet out 20, he quickly calls. So since he just calls, I know I have the best hand. So I quickly table it and we have a pot going our way. So what do you guys think of that bet? Should I go larger or was that a good play or should I check to try to induce maybe? Let me know. So this is probably the most disappointing hand of the day. So I have ace-5 of diamonds in middle position. I raised to 15 and somehow managed to get 4 callers. So we're 5 ways to the flop. Gotta love low stakes. So the flop comes 6-7-3 with 2 diamonds. So I have the flush draw, I have a gut shot straight draw, and I also have an overcard. So I'm fine with betting into the field because if I get raised, I'll still continue. So I bet 25, and it seems like everybody has something because I get 3 callers going to the turn. So hopefully we can smash this turn and flush or flush somebody or hit our straight. So the turn comes a fantastic one, the perfect one. It is the 10 of diamonds. So now 8-9 makes a straight, the nut straight. And if somebody else has a flush, they're probably going to think they have the winning hand. So when it gets to me, I make a small bet of 50. And to my dismay, they all fold. Uh, there's not many chances in poker to win a really big pot. So it's really unfortunate when you think you're set up to do that and you end up just winning a medium sized one. But it's all right. It's a win, so I'll take it. So proceeding on to the next hand, we have pocket sixes in middle position, and the under the gun player raises the 12. The +1 calls and I call. So the flop comes 9-4 deuce, which is not the worst flop for pocket sixes. So the +1 and the under the gun check to me, and I decide to bet 25. And the original raiser comes along and he calls, and the turn is the six of spade, giving me a set, which is beautiful. And he only has about 40 left in his stack. And so I'm thinking, what does he call 25 with that he's going to fold now? So I go ahead and just put them all in, and he actually folds. So kind of wasn't what I was looking for when you turn the set, but it's all right. Another pot. Let's go to the next one. So now we actually have a premium hand of Queen 5 of spades. There's two limps in front of me, and I raised a 20 from the cutoff. The flop comes Jack 4-6 with two spades. So it checks to me in flow, and I decided to actually bet pretty large, 35. And the first limper folds, but then the second one decides to call. So, all right, I'm just hoping I get a pretty good barrel card to come, and we get just that as the turn is the King of Hearts. So now I'm deciding I'm really going to put pressure on this guy. So when he checks to me, I size up to 75, which I actually would do if I had ace king and spiked the king on the turn. So after he sees this bet and this card on the turn, he quickly decides to fold, which is a great result when you just have queen high. So that's what takes sometimes in poker, just a little bit of aggression to get somebody off a hand. All right, sorry. So I started recording this hand a little late, but I'm in the big blind with ace jack off. A really aggressive young player raises to 15, middle position calls, and so do I. So you see we've smashed the flop with top and bottom pair. So I check it to him, knowing he's going to c-bet range, and he does for 15. Middle position folds, and I decided to just go ahead and call because I've seen him barrel off with nothing. So I like to see him continue to do that. So I call, and we see a 7 of hearts on the turn. When I see the 7 of hearts and I check it to him, knowing he's going to put out another bet, which is 35, I'm considering, is there any merit to raising now that there's a flush draw out there, some gut shot straight draws, but I decide to just go ahead and keep his bluffs in and then just call again. And now we're off to a beautiful brick deuce of diamonds. So when I check it to him, he puts out a medium-sized bet of 65. And when it gets back to me, I'm trying to decide, is there any merit in raising? Because I have to get called by a worse hand that'll call a raise. And I only came up with ace king and queen jack. And because of this, I decided to just go ahead and make the smooth call. And it turns out he has ace 10, which of course is one of the hands that would not have called a raise. That's just being results oriented though. So if you have a raise that I should have put in, just tell me when and how much. And we're off to the next hand, and we battled with him actually in the next hand. Alrighty, and now we're headed to the final hand of the vlog, of the session, and we're looking down at 8-9 of clubs. One of my favorite hands actually, and especially my favorite suit. And so we're on the button, and the same aggressive player raises to 12 under the gun. So I could be 3-betting his hand sometimes, but he could put me in a very bad spot. So I think it's best just for me to see a flop. So small blind calls with me, and we're off to a flop of ace 8-4 with 2 clubs. So we got a little piece of this board. So when I check and the small blind checks, the under the gun decides to go ahead and bet, which I knew he would. And with a pair and a backdoor flush draw, I'm not going anywhere just yet. And so I call, and the small blind gets out of the way. So now the turn gives us a whole lot of equity as it comes to 6 of clubs. So now we've been upgraded to a pair with a flush draw. And so when I check, he puts out a pretty good bet of 45. Now, if it was a smaller sizing, I might attack it. But seeing that that's a pretty hefty size, I'm just going to go ahead and try to make my hand. I don't want to overplay because I really just have a pair of 8s at this moment. And so when I call, we're looking to make our hand. Or if there's a small middling cards, connecting cards, I might decide to bluff. Maybe like a 9, a 10, or something of the sort, but it comes with board pairing 6. So at this point, I'm just going to evaluate the sizing and decide to shut it down. And this guy bets 115. So now I'm just like, all right, I'm done with this hand. You win round 2, so we can call it a draw. So I go ahead and just fold my hand to that. And that is the last hand of the session. Alrighty, so to wrap things up, I was in the game for 300, ended up out the game for 455. So it was a profit of 155. So it's not a bad run. I'll take it. So remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for all the episodes that's coming up in the near future. Holla.